everyone, I'm Lydia from Novelty, and today I'm going to tell you all about one of my favorite books. I listened to it about 6 months ago as an audiobook, and it's the first time I was introduced to the story, and it's really stuck with me since then. I want to reread it or re-listen to it now because it's just that amazing. It is Before We Were Yours by Lisa Wingate, and before we get into the story though, just quick funny side note, I just filmed this whole vlog and was editing it and suddenly realized that I had told a huge spoiler without meaning to, so we're refilming. But yes, anyways, to the story. So this book is told in two different perspectives. The first one is from Avery, and it's nowadays. She's, I don't know, somewhere around like 30, and she is a senator's daughter, and her grandma has Alzheimer's or something like that, and it's really hard for her because she's been really close to her grandma, so she has to figure out how to balance her dad and his political career, which she's a huge part of, along with her grandma being sick and all of the spotlights that get shone on them from the media, and trying to figure out what to do with life, plus this huge mystery that comes up and she's really not sure how to handle it. The second perspective is from Rill Foss in the 1930s. Her name is spelled R-I-L-L, and she is the oldest child in a family with a lot of little kids. They live on a houseboat, and they are extremely loved and just totally adored by their parents. It's such a beautiful and thriving atmosphere for her, but then her mom goes into labor and there's issues with the delivery, so her dad rushes her to the hospital at the last moment, and they don't come back. And the next day, these strangers come and they tell Rill, like, you have to come with us. And she's like, no, and tries to get away from them. But all the kids get taken to a group home. And so then it's her story of trying to figure out what's going on and where she is and where her family is and trying to keep the siblings together. It's such a heart-wrenching and beautiful and loving and horrible story all at once. It is historical fiction, and it's about Georgia Tann. I don't know if you all have ever heard of her. I had not heard of her before I read this book. When I was listening to this book, I was like, oh my goodness, mind blown, and I had to look her up to see if she was a real person. She is, and it's quite disturbing how she, got in charge of all these kids. So I learned a lot about her through this. The story, she is not a good person at all, and she ruined a lot of kids' lives and a lot of families, and it's horrible, but it's part of our history, and that's crazy to me. So this story reminds me a lot of To Kill a Mockingbird, as in it takes a really difficult subject and it tells it from the perspective of a little girl. And so it's just a really unique way to do it that really gives a punch and makes the story stick with you. I highly recommend this book, although I will say there obviously is sensitive content because Georgia Tann was not a good person, and so it talks about the stuff the children went through in the children's home, but it's written well. I would say it doesn't go into too much detail. Still, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody below mid-teens probably. But then the story is about how Avery's life and Rill's life, how they collide, and you don't, it's a mystery that slowly unfolds, and you're like, what in the world is going on? How do these two storylines can, go together? And it's so amazing. I highly recommend it. Guys, I want to go listen to it again now myself. It's just that good.